Well, the chemtrails are another phenomena that's being used to, essentially poison all of the folks that are going to be subjected to wherever the chemtrails finally, or the pieces of the chemtrails finally land. These things, you can see them. Normally, if you look up in the sky and you see an airplane and a little a fume or a plum comes out of the rear, that normally is a contrail, and it disappears. So you hold up your fingers about 2 inches, and that should disappear. These are not contrails; they are chemtrails, and they do not disappear. The plane will fly all the way across from horizon to horizon, putting out these chemical toxins that essentially then fall to the ground, fall to the earth. And what do? You breathe them.
Sir,
you breathe this stuff. And furthermore, what they do is they crisscross, so it looks like a tic-tac-toe up in the sky, or a set of tic-tac-toes up in the sky. And obviously what they're trying to do is to inundate an entire country or inundate an entire area with these toxic materials that you then breathe. You then get the diseases that they want you to get, and you die.
Well, I was going to...
talking about deformed genetic material, partial red blood cells, virus,
aluminum,
aluminum,
barium,
beryllium.
Aluminum does not belong in your body.
Well, let me add just something briefly here because it's so important. I'm sure you guys know about this, but in case you don't, I've now learned in the last year, they call it, these aerosol spraying programs in hundreds of universities, Department of Energy and others. They admit, but they don't call it chemtrails, that it is secret programs for testing the weather and doing other things and to test global warming. They admit that they are doing it now. And the reason they had to do it was so many government people who were compartmentalized were asking and confirming and testing that they had to come out and admit. And now it's in high school textbooks that, oh, yes, they're spraying that as a sunscreen for the earth and claiming it's weather modification. But, I'm just throwing that out. Your take on that?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what they tell you.
One of the reasons that we're in Panama is that there are no chemtrails. Now, General Stubblebine and I have seen a chemtrail here in the highlands of Panama, but it was over Costa Rica. There are no chemtrails in Panama. And we believe that that's because of a very intentional decision that the elite have decided that there are going to be enclaves where they foolishly think that they can separate the damage they're doing from the earth from where they live.
Yeah, why has Bush bought all this land in Paraguay? Why is Dick Cheney moving to Dubai?
Is he moving to Dubai? I missed that one.
Yeah, he bought a big house there and dumped his dollars.
Probably because there's no extradition. But in Paraguay, the piece of land that the Bush family bought, Jenna Bush bought for the family, is situated directly over the world's largest freshwater aquifer.
And water is going to be another issue that because there's not going to be enough water to go around.
Good God. I want to go to some phone calls here. General, when did you, with all your training, all your study, when did it finally click because you said this last time you were on a year ago, when did it finally click that it's eugenics? When did you and then what was it like when all the intelligence, all the data finally went boom and popped out at you?
Well, I didn't notice it when I was on active duty because I was too busy believing, doing, and working, and I really believed in what I was doing, so I wasn't paying any attention to the picture that I now see. However, about 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago, suddenly all of the dots, just like you and I were talking earlier about suddenly the dots don't just appear to be dots. Suddenly there's a picture that just sort of jumps out of the screen and hits you in the face. And you say, oh, my God, what the hell is this? And then you say, no, it can't be true. And you try to make it go back into the screen, and it won't. And so it pops out again. You say, all right, it's real. Now, what do I do about it? And so this occurred after I retired, this sudden realization that all of the things that I believed in, all of the things that I fought for for my country were a bunch of baloney. I'd been sold a bill of goods and been duped. And, incidentally, it's very, very difficult to admit that did not see it at the time, that you were duped, that you've been taken for a ride, and that all of this was going on even way back when.
Well, it's all compartmentalized. Well, it's all compartmentalized. I mean, it's all compartmentalized, sir, as you know, so you're certainly not guilty. You would be guilty if you then figured it out and then didn't do something. Toba, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call. You kind of touched on, I was going to ask about the chemtrails. I live here in Indiana, Indianapolis, and a day doesn't go by that I don't see dozens and dozens of chemtrails crisscrossing. And do you know if those are military airplanes or commercial airplanes?
Some of all of the above.
All the above?
Yeah, they add a lot of it to the fuel. Again, it's compartmentalized, and you've got three major wholesalers of it, so it's added there. But it's not in all aircraft. Sherry in Texas, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. I just had a question for Dr. Libo.
Okay.
About chemtrails and their effect on humans. I have a family member who has stage 3 breast cancer, and she believes in chemtrails. Finally, I finally got pictures of them, video of them, showed them to her. Said, "These are not contrails, Mom." And she, there you go. But she basically doesn't think that they're affecting anything, and doesn't take.
She doesn't believe in them because she doesn't understand them.
Well, let me just be clear. The chemtrail phenomenon, it's a cocktail. There's a bunch of different operations going on, and it's highly classified. They're only admitting the weather modification portion of them, and so we don't know. We need more research. But I know this. Until 96, trails were up there. They formed at 30,000 feet or higher. They were there for 30 seconds a minute. Now they're there for 2 hours while I'm in the garden, and then they start floating down. But go ahead, Doctor.
Well, what I was going to say is if you go to if you Google Morgellons, MorgellonsGellons Morgellons disease and Natural Solutions Foundation. If you Google both of those, you will find an article that I have written about chemtrails and Morgellons disease with photographs, with electron photomicrographs, and there's also a forum. The Natural Solutions Foundation sponsors and hosts forums where people can talk to each other about specific issues, whether it's vaccination or Morgellons disease or whatever. And if you join that, you will find other people who will be able to tell you about chemtrails. They're very, very dangerous. The fact that your mom doesn't believe in them is kind of irrelevant.
Well, she believes. She doesn't think they're bad.
Right.
Well, listen, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Sherry. I'm going to try to cram Dan in for the full audience. Look, the government is taking foster children and testing pesticides on them until they die. New York Daily News. Believe the people running things are evil.